will Democrats learn? Well, Marianne Williamson is asking that very same question. Now, you guys remember Marianne Williamson ran against Joe Biden in the primary, even though the DNC would not allow them to have actual debates. She ran anyway, and she was on the ballot, and she did receive a number of votes in certain states as a primary candidate. Well, now Marianne Williamson, after endorsing Kamala Harris, is speaking out. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, she is speaking out against the Democratic Party and Kamala Harris's campaign. I want you to hear what Marianne has to say about what the Democratic Party is doing wrong and what should be done. Listen to this.
You know, you've had some strong words for your party, saying that some Democrats can't read the room and need to step down immediately. So I'm just curious, who are you referring to?
Well, first of all, when I said they should resign, that's out of context. They should resign their position of leadership. They should resign their paternalism. They should resign their condescending attitude. I actually think that they have an important role to play in demonstrating a change in attitude on the part of the Democratic Party leadership. So I was not saying that, you know, they should, many of them, there's no official position to resign. But this idea that there is an elite group politically, in terms of the media, in terms of the donor class and so forth. It's something that has to change in their heads that then is demonstrated to the American people.
Yeah, we're taking a look at this article. You know, the Democratic elite should resign is the headline. People are feeling hopeless out in America now. And you write, in my opinion, Donald Trump offers false hope. He'll name a pain, but he will not name a policy that's going to fix it. But people will take false hope over no hope. So a lot of people seizing on that today, Marianne, and taking a look at that. And that's some of the wording that we're referencing. You know, and even former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi spoke to the New York Times, suggesting that President Biden should have dropped out of the race sooner. Let's take a listen here, and I want to get your take.
Here we go.
But let me just say this. We're only a couple of days since the election. There'll be many reviews of timing and the who, what, when, and why, and where as we go forward. And books will be written about it. The fact is, she did a great job with the time constraint that she had. Had the president gotten out sooner, there may have been other candidates in the race. Kamala, I think, still would have won, but she may have been stronger, having taken her case to the public sooner.
So, okay, many people are asking and wondering if she is missing the point of what critics within the Democratic Party are saying. What do you think?
She's taking the exact wrong tack. Justification and blame. Justification and blame is not what's needed here. It's a continuation of the mentality that got us into this mess. It is not the mentality that will get us out.
Pause for a second. You know what, Pelosi, Nancy, you ain't got it no more. You're starting to lose your finesse, just like Barack Obama. Everybody's speaking out against you now, Nancy, even though you're dim leadership. You got Bernie speaking out against you. You got Marianne speaking out against you. James Carville, everyone's speaking out against you now. You don't have it anymore, Nancy. You ain't got it like that.
The American people need to see is contrition. What the American people need to see is an acknowledgement that something deep went wrong, and they need to listen to the American people, and the American people need to hear some humility. If I was in charge, this is what I would do. There should be a speaking tour with some of the top Democrats, perhaps Pelosi herself. And the three words that should be core to this are honor, humility, and economics. The American people are so used to getting emails in our inbox from the Democratic Party saying what the party needs from the people. The party needs to say to these groups, what do you need from us? They also need to say in the speaking tour, we recognize we got it wrong. What did we not hear from you?
In other words, Marianne is calling for an intervention. Have you guys ever watched that show, Intervention? I used to love that show, you know, and I realized I can't watch too many of those episodes in a row because it gets kind of gloomy, you know. It's just like these are people that have serious substance abuse issues, and you just can't watch too many intervention episodes in a row because you're just kind of like, damn, you know. But that's what it kind of sounds like to me. Marianne's calling for all of the like people that are part of the Democratic Party that are not in dim leadership, that are not politicians, to sit in front of these Democrat leaders and to just unload, like, you know, get everything off of their chest and to tell them how they feel. That's what it sounds like to me.
Please tell us what we're not hearing. And then the third thing needs to be economics. What are your economic needs that you feel we are not serving? That is what the Democratic leadership needs to do to regain the trust and the emotional and psychological connection with people that is core to the gaining of political power.
That's really interesting. And what about the Democrats that might be getting groomed at this point, or that are being eyed for moving forward? Because everybody's now taking a deep breath and taking it in of what just happened. But moving forward, who do you see on the table, so to speak, who might be getting groomed for the next round?
Well, the same olds are the people that we all know. I don't have anything new to add to that. My point is not about the who. My point is about the what. Because if the people who are thinking of running in 28 only continue this level of we know, you don't know, we need you to come be here for us, and an undertending to the traditional political base of the Democratic Party, then it doesn't even matter who. The Democratic Party needs to reclaim the traditional values of the Democratic Party, starting with taking corporate cash back in the 70s, corporate consulting groups who are themselves conflicted, I think, operatives who don't really care. There are so many ways in which the corporatization of the party has peripheralized that which used to be the power of the party, and that is that the working people of the United States knew that the Democratic Party is there for me. You know, when Franklin Roosevelt died, there was a famous picture of a man who was standing watching the train, his funeral train, go by. And the man was crying. And a journalist said to the man, "What, did you know the president?" And he said, "No, but the president knew me." The Democratic Party apparently doesn't know those people in East Palestine, Ohio, or the president would have shown up. They don't come across like they know. They come across like they're in an ivory tower, and they look to the people that they should be serving as ways that those people can serve them by showing up on election day. The days of that delusion need to be over, and a new chapter needs to begin, and it will come from the things I said.
So one of the things I want to add, again, Marianne Williamson, she wasn't my choice for candidate. She was not good on the Israel-Gaza issue. You guys know I care deeply about foreign policy. So she was not my candidate. And she was also running through the Democratic Party. But the other thing I will say, what she's pointing out here is that the party doesn't know the people. They don't know working class people, basically. They really don't know us. A lot of these politicians, the only time I even see them come around is when they're trying to get reelected. The congressmen, you know, the mayors, you don't see these people for years. And then when it's time for reelection, they're like, "Hey, remember me?" It's like that one uncle that comes to the family reunion or comes around during Christmas. It's like you only hear from that uncle, like maybe during Christmas, and they're like, "Hey, remember me?" That uncle. It's kind of like that. So I guess it's just that the Democratic Party made a big mistake by choosing to take corporate money. Now, they won't see it that way. Choosing to take corporate money, choosing to align theirself with elites, with the Ivy League crowd. Even a lot of the politicians nowadays went to Ivy League schools. The people that are being propped up or encouraged to run for 2028, like Cory Booker. Come on, get out of here, man. I saw Cory Booker speak when he ran in 2020. I saw him speak in New Hampshire, in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, in person. As fake as could be. I've never seen someone that fake. Like, that was fake. And it was very obvious. There was an older dude in the crowd that pointed it out. And he said, "You remind me a lot of Barack Obama." And he said some of the same things that you're saying now. And you guys had a similar background where you both went to these Ivy League, universities. And I'm just not buying it this time. I'll never forget it. Kudos to that older gentleman in the crowd that said that, but he was not convincing at all. So for somebody to push, like Cory Booker, I'm like, nah, bud. His eyes will get there before he does. Too soon? Bad. Let's go on a little bit more here.
Right. Well, is the new chapter, are you in there? Are you thinking about jumping back in?
I'm thinking of today. I'm thinking of the things that need to happen before any Democrat's going to have a chance of winning big. I'm thinking about 2026. I'm thinking about the needs of every American citizen who leans in the direction of the traditional Democratic Party and what it will take for us to reclaim the soul of the Democratic Party so that we can reclaim power in the United States.
So that was one of the appearances that she made. And there was another one that she made on Emily Jelinski's show. I guess Emily Jelinski from Breaking Points also has another show that she hosts. And I want you to hear what Marianne said on this show as well. DG Daniels said Cory Booker is the Timu Barack Obama. Stop, DG. Oh my God, that is so cold. Okay, here we go.
Was this point about theater? I think this is something you understand that other people in the party don't, that when Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016, he ushered in, as you said, a new era in American politics. And I thought Kamala Harris was at her best in this campaign when she was sitting down with someone who you know well, that would be Oprah. And then there was the Madison Square Garden rally, which the response to it was almost, it reminded me kind of the Access Hollywood tape response. And as egregious as some of these things might be, voters see Donald Trump differently than a lot of people in the Democratic elite and the media. So looking back on how high-profile Democrats, powerful Democrats ran this campaign, what could they have done, if anything, with the candidates they were working with to match that level of theater that Donald Trump has now brought into American politics?
Resign. Resign the position that they have given themselves, by the way. These are self-appointed protectors of the Democratic project. Let in new people, because the process is as important as the goal. Ultimately, the end is inherent in the means. I believe, for instance, that the counterforce to the kind of strongman politics that Donald Trump represents is deep, authentic righteousness and virtue. And if you're going to have a politics based on righteousness and virtue, as Lincoln would say, the right as we see fit. You know, none of us are perfect, but if we are making an honest effort at what would honestly, if we are to adhere to the principles of the Declaration of Independence, that God gave us inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, what public policy decision would promote life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to the widest array of people? You can either have that, or you can be thinking about what will make your donors happy. So the crowd that...
So that's a really good point that she brought up there about, are you going to make the people happy or make your donors happy? And in order for that to happen, like I said, you got to get corporate money out of electoral politics altogether. I think that's when you'll really see politicians be held accountable by their constituents, because again, it's like you're going to have to do something for the people if you think you're going to, get reelected. You're going to have to. There will be no APAC in electoral politics that's going to run all these ads for you to help you win. Like, you're going to have to hit the pavement like the old school days and knock on doors and tell people who you are and what you're going to do for them. And then you're going to actually have to do it. I said this before, and some people thought this was a little too far, but I said this before, that I actually wouldn't be opposed to politicians signing a contract with what they run on. Meaning that if you run on universal health care, and that bill is brought to the floor in Congress and you vote against it, you got to go. And some people said, Sabby, that's too cold. I'm like, no, why not? People sign contracts all the time. You sign a contract when you lease a car, right? You sign a contract, or we can say it's a contract, when you buy a house. You sign a contract when you take out student loans. So people sign types of contracts all the time. So my thing is, again, like, if you're running on certain policies, and when those policy measures are brought to the floor for a vote and you vote against it, you're gone. That's it. You got to get out of Congress. You lose your seat and someone else gets to take it. No. I mean, it just makes perfect sense to me. That'll be a surefire way to hold people accountable.
Thinks that their job is to kind of broker doing the right thing with making sure that big insurance companies are happy, and big pharmaceutical companies are happy, and big food is happy, and big chemical companies are happy, and big agriculture is happy, and gun manufacturers. I can't pin the gun manufacturer thing on the Democrats, however, but everybody else I can, including big oil, God knows, and the military industrial complex. The corruption is so deep in both parties. So that crowd, what could they have done? They are so tied to believing that the money is everything. You know, sometimes I felt, Emily, during this campaign, over the last 3 months, there were moments when I felt, my God, he's running a presidential campaign. She's running a fundraising campaign. We raised this money. We raised that money. Hillary had more money than Trump. Money alone won't do it. An authentic emotional connection with the American people is what does it. And the American people didn't appreciate the paternalism of a system that seemed to be saying, we know what's best for you. You know, anybody with a modicum of historical understanding knows that when there is a large group of desperate people in fear, people in confusion, the emergence of a strong man is almost inevitable. And so the lack of psychological perspicacity, the lack of emotional astuteness that is involved in the pseudo-sophisticate crowd that currently runs the Democratic Party is very unfortunate. They got what they deserved. It's a crash and burn for the Democratic establishment. But we didn't get what we deserved. And the Democratic Party now needs to have the political equivalent of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where there's a deep and humble inquiry into what has happened, that the Democratic Party has lost its emotional and psychological connection to such a wide swath of the American electorate. Right now, it doesn't look like that's where they're going. Right now, it looks like the post-game analysis is being run by people who think just blame everybody else. Blame the Latinos, blame black men, blame white women, blame whomever. And for a system, for an organization, for a political party, just like for an individual, you're going to have to sit down and look in your own heart and your own conscience and into your own mirror and just say, what was my part in this? If the Democratic Party does that, there will be a regreening, there will be a rebirth, that's where the phoenix will rise from. And if it doesn't, anybody interested in a more left-wing populism will simply have to forge another path. But people have seen through it. The curtain has been pulled aside. All this codependent, whatever the DNC says, it was just a little man in there. It was never a Wizard of Oz. And we need to get back to our own critical thinking. And I think this is a wake-up call for the American people that I think ultimately will actually be good for this country.
So here's something I want to say. She mentioned Truth and Reconciliation. And again, like I call it a contract. Like, have them sign a contract. You know, I mean, like, how many times have you had to sit through HR meetings when you get a new job? Massachusetts is at will, employment at will state, where you have to read through all the stuff and you have to sign, and they tell you that this is an at will employer and you can be removed at any time with or without reason or just cause, etc. I mean, we sign things all the time, you know, so these are things to think about. So yeah, maybe they should have to sign a contract. Now, what's weird about this, and tell me how you think, what's weird about this statement from Marianne Williamson now is that she endorsed Kamala Harris. And Marianne was running as a primary candidate against Joe Biden, and they pretty much did everything they could to kind of shut her out, take her out of that conversation, obviously. And I feel like endorsing Kamala Harris basically just gave them the stamp of approval that what they did to you was okay. You can't sit up here and say that they're treating you wrong. The Democratic Party isn't treating you the right way. They won't even have a debate and they're trying to ignore the primary, races. And then you turn around and endorse a candidate that was just selected. That was not a part of those primary races. Nobody voted for Kamala Harris in the 2024 Democrat primary. And I think I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. You guys know I have a merch store. I think I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. Nobody voted for her in the primary. I don't have to put a name, but you guys will know what I'm talking about. So when Marianne endorsed Kamala Harris, to me, it's just like, again, why is everyone coming out and saying this now? Now, Marianne says the Democratic Party got what they deserved. But at one point, you thought what they deserved was for Kamala to win. That's why you endorsed her. And you said, got to get out there and support and vote Kamala Harris. You knew she was running a bad campaign. I said the same thing about Bernie Sanders. You guys knew she was running a bad campaign and you supported her and endorsed her anyway, because Donald Trump was so much worse. So I just, I don't get this. I don't get it. I don't know if maybe this is a push for Marianne to write another book. I don't know. But if you don't say it at that time when it really matters, it's too late. Too late, fam. Too late, baby. Yeah, it's too late. It's too late. Nobody wanted to say this stuff during the time when she was running the, and Marianne is not in Congress. Like, she's not in the Senate. She's not, Bernie's at least in the Senate. Like, you definitely could have said those things, right? Crazy. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.